Welcome back, Geordies. It's Adam from Two for Joy with my instant match reaction to Newcastle's stunning 3-1 win with a title of From Villains to Heroes, and it was exactly that tonight. I'll be quite honest, probably one of the worst refereeing performances I've ever seen in the FA Cup. Chris Kavanagh, absolutely shocking, and whoever that lino is from the first half doesn't deserve to referee a game for the rest of the season, honestly. I felt like it was quite an interesting start with the lineup that Eddie Howard put out and the images they put up on BBC showing that Newcastle were going to play a 4-2-3-1, which I was quite shocked with, to be honest, that Eddie Howard finally decided to change up the tactics, and it's what I want to see. And if he can make it work, fantastic. There's nothing I'd like more than to see Eddie succeed by progressing and changing as a manager and developing himself and the squad into something different. And when we actually started to play and kicked off, I thought the formation looked more like a 4-1-2-3 with Sandro Tonali sitting deep as defensive midfielder, with Ramsey and Voltemada in as a 8 and a 10, and Asula playing the front line. And I felt like we didn't start too badly. I honestly felt like the first 15 minutes was kind of 50-50 between us and Villa. It was back and forth. We seemed to hold possession quite well in the final third. And then, typically, as is always the way, Aston Villa get a free kick. It looks like Morgan Rogers is going to line one up and hit one from about 40 yards out. But Douglas Luiz does a little chip over the top, and Tammy Abraham, who's clearly a foot offside, chips the ball in over Aaron Ramsdale. And I feel for Ramsdale at this point because I thought he didn't deserve to have a goal scored against him tonight. Tammy Abraham is clearly offside. There's two Villa players offside. No flag from the lino. And my biggest thing with this is all VAR or no VAR. In my opinion, if you're going to play every Premier League game with VAR, play every cup competition with VAR as well. There's enough money in the Premier League, there's enough money in TV revenue to be able to put VAR and cameras in at every ground in the country. And this really frustrates me because I think most of those referees and linos, they're not putting their flags up because they don't have to do it. Week by week for the last 6 months he hasn't had to do it. Now it really needs to be switched on, make a decision, have the courage to put his flag up when he thinks someone's offside, and he doesn't do it. But the first half being a little bit of a sham, Newcastle looked a little bit off it after that, heads started to drop, Villa basically controlling the game, and the few chances we did have to go forward, I mean, Will Asula played one through to Harvey Barnes and he hits the side netting. But on the 40-minute mark, and this really, really got me, Luca Digne makes a tackle on Jacob Murphy, and VAR or no VAR, this is a red card. It's absolutely awful. And I'll go back to Newcastle versus Liverpool when Anthony Gordon makes that rash challenge on Virgil van Dijk, and you see the stud marks left on Virgil van Dijk. Jacob Murphy's got 2 holes in the front of his leg from Luca Digne's boot. And the referee gives a yellow card. And I've got to be honest, I'm thinking they must go in at half-time and look at those 2 decisions. One offside, one terrible tackle that should be a red card. And at half-time, they'll look at those and go, we've made a mistake, we've made a mistake. But we didn't even get to half-time. So 44 minutes, an Aston Villa player gets played through and he's off. And the lino doesn't put his flag up for a second time. And Dan Burn is visibly raging, shouting, fuck off to the linesman. And literally 2 minutes after that decision, Newcastle break from a corner. Jacob Murphy once again comes over to the left-hand side and plays the ball round Bezo, the goalie. And Bezo makes a terrible lunging tackle on the halfway line. It made me laugh. I done a short because of it. Danny Murphy claiming that a goalkeeper 40 yards out of his goal with Newcastle with 3 players flooding forward and Aston Villa with only 1 defender within the vicinity tracking back after Murphy puts the ball round him, it's not a red card. And I just can't believe it. It's the same shit we hear every week. Get these guys off. Get them off the commentary. They don't know what they're talking about. Clear red card from Bezo. Sent off 46 minutes. And Newcastle go in 1-0 down at half-time. And I'll be honest, I thought a lacklustre display in the first half. We didn't look up for it. We tried to hold the ball up in the final third, which I thought we did better than normal, but we felt stretched. Every time Villa came forward, we felt stretched. And sure enough, starting the second half, I'm thinking, 11 versus 10, this is the time to take it on. And then basically, I think it's about 55 minutes. Ball comes back to Kieran Trippier and he's going to whip a cross in. And, sorry, my light's just gone off. Ball comes back to Kieran Trippier. He's going to whip a cross in. And sure enough, Luca Dean jumps with his arm in the air and handles the ball inside the penalty area. And the referee blows his whistle. I'm like, brilliant, reprieve, penalty. The referee walks over, Chris Kavanagh walks over with the same official that made that fucking terrible offside call in the first half, and between them decide that the ball should be played as a free kick from 5 yards outside the box. 5 yards outside the box. They show the replay. Luca Dean, he's probably 3 foot inside his 18-yard box when the ball hits him on the arm. These officials are fucking awful. But from that free kick, ball goes whipped in from Kieran Trippier, fumbled outside. Sandro Tonali hits the ball straight off Douglas Luiz, deflected goal, put Newcastle 1-1. A small bit of justice against the Villains, and to be honest, I felt like they should have been down to 9 at 0-0 at half time. So 1-1 in the second half is as good as we can hope for. And then moving on, strike of the season, I'll give it for Newcastle. 75 minutes in, Sandro Tonali, a rifled shot from 25 yards into the bottom left-hand corner. And I'll be honest, I thought Sandro Tonali looked terrible in the first half. His passing was off, his movement was off. But after that first goal, it was almost like the confidence in him reignited. That second goal, the strike, he hit it so cleanly. You hit one of them in 30 shots. Fantastic finish. And then Newcastle, all I can think is the subs that we made. Seeing Anthony Gordon come on, Alanga come on, and we started to really put pressure on. And all I could think is, please don't sit back. Don't sit back and try and defend a 2-1 lead at Villa Park, even with 10 men. And fantastically, we didn't. We carried on pressing high. We put them under pressure. And sure enough, 87 minutes, Aston Villa trying to play out from the back. And the ball drops to Joe Willock, centre edge of the 18-yard box. And one of the Villa players comes back and gets a touch on it. And the ball just falls sweetly to Nick Voltemade, who scoops it over the top of the goalkeeper. And I am so pleased for Nick Voltemade. I'll be honest, hearing the pundits at half-time and hearing the commentary about Nick Voltemade not being in the right space as a striker, the role he was playing is a number 10. So when these balls are being crossed in and he's sitting between the 18-yard box and the penalty spot, predominantly that is where you see Morgan Rogers. And I do feel like Voltemade is getting a really bad rap from the press, from certain YouTube channels, from the media. Honestly, I don't think he's playing as badly as everybody makes out. He's been played in a style or a position that doesn't suit his strength, his expertise, his forte as part of, you know, Nick Voltemada being a footballer. And I'll be honest, when we saw him came in at the start of the season and the goals he scored and the quick form he came in from is from playing in a system in Germany that suited his style, and he was still in form and still picking up goals. And it's a big one for Nick today. 24th birthday, Valentine's baby. I'll tell you what, I'm so pleased for him. Absolutely brilliant tonight. I thought he held the ball up well. He probably dropped deeper than I'd like him to, but he's new to that role. He's not a number 10. He traditionally plays as a 9. I've always said I think he can do that role, but super pleased for him. Loved the end of the game after hearing Villa fans singing "Your support is fucking shit," to see the Newcastle fans saying or singing "They're here, they're there, they're every fucking where." Empty seats. That's right, Villa boys. Empty seats. So for the mighty flying high Villains, third in the table you might be, trophies you have not won, and the FA Cup you are out of. So let me know, Geordies, in the comments. I'm super chuffed with this. Terrible officiating, some terrible decisions, but Newcastle managed to come through with a win in the FA Cup to put us into the next round. Our first win under the new ownership since we signed Bruno. With Bruno not in the team, you've got to be happy. I've got to give credit to Eddie Howe. I've got to give credit to the players on the pitch. And I'll be quite honest, I thought Dan Burn looked like a real leader at the back tonight. Trippier, better. A little bit out of his depth at certain times. Some bad passes from Malik Chow. But overall, not a bad performance. And Lewis Hall, I give credit, Lewis Hall and Jacob Ramsey, I thought were fantastic tonight. Some really good displays from them. So let me know in the comments, Geordies. And hopefully, guys, I will see you in the next one.